Oh, the aggravation. You know what it is. If you own a Jeanneau 1095 or an 895, too many of us at some point end up raising our engines into the adjustable cockpit sliding bench. Today we're going to talk about how we replace the latch when you've done this. If you own it 1095 or 895, remember, don't raise your engines into the cockpit bench. And remember, if you do, you're not the first nor the last to do it. On our last boat trip, because of weather, my wife Alicia and I were in a marina for several days. We had the engines down, so the cockpit was open, had extra space for seating and enjoying the space. On the second day, I wondered, why did I leave the engines down in the middle of the day and just walk forward, raise them, and heard that sickening crunch. At the time, I ended up bending one of the latches. The latch no longer functions. There was enough of a bend that I had to remove the latch, move our bench forward, reinstall the latch, and go about our trip. But now it's time to replace it. And in the process of doing that, the fiberglass holes have been a little bit stripped. So we want to do some filling so we can replace the latch and get the boat back in shape. We looked online at several locations trying to find a replacement latch. I couldn't find one easily. Ended up contacting our dealer, Dunbar Yachts. They were able to order me a replacement latch. I ended up getting two, so I have a spare. One of ours was still functioning, one was bent. So if anyone finds a place you can order a replacement directly, let me know so other people can have one on board. We couldn't find it, and we relied on our dealer to find it for us. Happily, we were able to get it before our next trip. So we're going to make that repair right now.
So we've got this laid out for the repair. The bottom screws that go in to this are the originals are 1/2 inch. I was checking to see if I could get a 3/4 inch in there. I measured it off on the blade. It's a little bit thicker fiberglass, but it is. I went through when I did that. On this, it's a hollow space down below, so we weren't. I wasn't overly concerned on doing that. I wanted to see if I could get a 3/4 inch in. These are not fully stripped out, so I'm doing a repair to help increase their stability. I'm not re-epoxying and really doing a full repair, replace, and re-drill. I want to be able to make sure we have a good hold and to kind of stabilize it. The top two holes are a 3/4 inch bolt and nut on the recessed screw. So it's a locking nut. So the top two are easy to get in place. The bottom two are the ones that we want to reinforce. And we're going to do that with a small piece of toothpick and light caulk. So the toothpick, a repair, if you're doing wood, you might use a wood toothpick. This is just to make sure that once we're behind the gel coat on the outside, we've got a good grip on it. I've had to take these in and out several times, and it kind of wears the fiberglass when you do that. We have these very nice new latches. I have two of them. The nice new latch, very smooth. One of the latches is not usable anymore, but one worked it still works perfectly fine. It slides, it wasn't bent. So we're able to still use this one. I used silicone lubricant on it, made sure that it worked well. But looking at them, since I have two nice pretty ones, we're going to use the two new ones on rather than one of the old, one of the new, and keep the old one as a spare. Since I know I've drilled this out, I want to make sure I have enough. The epoxy on the other side, I did not drill out. I did a test hole on just one side. Break off the end. Apply a little bit more on the one on this side. The hole's filled with epoxy. There's one piece of the plastic toothpick to help bind it in place. You can do the top two with the locking nut first. You want to make sure that it's shut when you're putting it in place. So this is not just a full repair. This is Not that it's been fully hollowed out. It's that there was enough stress on it. Gel coat's cracked. Want to give a better chance for long term for those bottom ones to hold in place. The top ones were just removed. And again, it's a locking nut, so it's not the same as that short, small screw holding it in place. You can see that even though this goes through, there's a nut on the back. They're tight enough that you're actually screwing it in. So these holes are in solid shape, but they don't tighten down. So this is in here. We're able to see the two nuts, the lock nuts on this side, where we're able to lock them in place from this side. So we'll tighten these down and the top will be done. I'm going to get these screws in. I've learned just to keep extra spares of these flathead half-inch number 8s on board. I think it's nice and tight. Again, there's the epoxy there. There's the plastic toothpick there to hopefully just add strength to a really short screw. There's a lot of force that goes onto these seat benches. So one side is done. So we've moved over to the port side, and we're going to do it on this side. Not going to do a test hole. We know that we're going to keep the same size screw. We're not going to try and go to a wider diameter or a longer screw. So we're just going to fill with epoxy, break off a small piece of the toothpick, and then screw it in place. Life caulk into each hole. Look carefully on the deck for the white toothpick. Find a replacement white toothpick after you lose it on the white deck. Wipe off a little of the excess of the life caulk. Measure against the existing screw for the right length, and put one piece in each side. We do the top ones with the nut and bolt first. Again, we're not going to tighten them all the way down. We're going to tighten them enough to hold in place and get the bottom also in place before we tighten them all. This is the side that was bent, so it definitely had more force than on the starboard side. You can't reach underneath this to get a bolt in the lower part. In the lower two holes, you need to be able to just screw the lower two holes in place. If I had all the screws out, probably would have done it faster, and if I had all the screws out, I probably would have lost more. Lower screws are now tight. There's the epoxy in there that'll harden, and the screw, or the small plastic toothpick to just help them hold behind the gel coat. And back in operation. You have experience with your repairs. Share them with us and share them with the community so that everyone has a chance to learn from each other and get better at taking care of their boats, understanding what the nuances are on these boats. They're really versatile, and that versatility sometimes leads to being able to break them.